Hey guys, Soulord here, back in with another action figure review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Savage Crucible Varnoks Unchained, to quote the great Van Halen. It said this, of course, brought to us by the fine folks over at Harbinger Studios, and is one of two variants of Varnoks Unchained. This is the one with the scorpion tail on the abdomen going to his right, our or my left. There's another version where the scorpion tail is going to his left, or our and my right. And it should be worth noting that this guy was initially a convention exclusive, but was available during that in-stock sale I've mentioned the past couple of videos for my reviews of Como of the Isles and the Lemurian Royal Guard. So check those out if you haven't already. We'd really appreciate it if you did, but it's time to cut to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review. Take a look-see at all Varnoks Unchained has to offer in terms of accessories, because he comes with about a weapons pack or accessory pack's worth of stuff. It's kind of ridiculous how much crap this guy comes with. So, starting off, we have a pair of open hands. Perfect for turning your head and coughing. Next up, we have a pair of bird flipping hands. So if you wanted to have them flipping you off, you can totally do it. I don't know what the deal with action figures and flipping the bird is nowadays, but more power to them, I guess. We also have a pair of alternate forearms with fists. This one has this cuff here, like he's got on his left. Oh, right. And then, of course, he's got the wrapped arm on the other side. So, there you go. You get those. You also get a pair of swappable furry boots. I like the boots he's got on him, so I left these off. We also get two extra heads. We get a Krieger the Shunned head with a beard. So that's cool, I guess. And then we get this kind of leather-wrapped mask head, which is actually meant to be one of the Unchained guys. So you could totally use this as one of them and use that awesome-looking skull mask as the other one. At least that's what I plan to do. I do kind of plan to pick up another one of these eventually, if that's feasible. Got a pair of shoulder pads. Had to take them off to put the big old Beastman fur pelt thing on. So there is that. We get a shield that has a peg, as well as a handle. You can, of course, pop the peg out, put the handle in. There you go. That's all fine and dandy. But, very gnarly looking He-Man-esque shield, if I do say so myself. We get a belt for the torso, which has a port for either the shield, or you can put this sword and scabbard on. Which this sword feels a bit light for the scabbard, but it's the only one I could get to fit. So there's that. We do get another sword, this big gnarly looking thing. But that ain't gonna fit in there. Does not go in there. Does it? Well, let me test this theory. Yeah, it goes in there like halfway. Alright, so it's clearly not made for that. So this sword is what goes into here. Even though it's a curved blade, and this is clearly not curved scabbard. It fits in there, low-key clicks in there. So that's kind of nice. I don't worry about it falling right out, but yeah, that's that. So there's your sword. There's your belt. There's your other sword. Also get a spear. Some little spiky dads on it, kind of sharp. Be careful with that. You get the spear. Get this smaller sword, which we've seen a ton of times. This actually can go on the loop on his belt. So there's that. We get a crazy bone axe. a skull on it. That looks pretty gnarly. And we also get a little kniff, which doesn't have a sheath. I kind of wish it did. And then we get this little piece that can hang off the belt. It looks like bones or something. I'm not entirely sure, but I like the skulls hanging off this guy's belt. He's got the skull mask. It makes sense. But we got these things. There's literal chains on here. These just look like handles on a chain. That's interesting. But either way, we got that going on. And then we have the blind bag weapon, which is the same gosh darn... Thought something fell on the floor there. Which is the same gosh darn curved sword I've gotten like numerous times. But it's got a purple hue to it instead of like the burning inferno colors that I've gotten two of in the past. So I will give this to somebody. I'm not sure who, but maybe Ninvilimir. He's got a sword like this. You can have like two swords. You can have one like charged up and the other one, I don't know. I kind of like him with that fadey green sword he's got. But that is it for accessories. That is a mess of stuff. It is all going in storage, except some of the weapons, because I'm going to kit this guy out. But one thing to note, I did have to sacrifice my Krieger the Shun's feet for this review because the left ankle on my figure broke. So that sucks, especially after the week I've had. If you guys saw my Como of the Isles video, you know all about that. But here's a foot that is not broke, that I heated up and popped apart and did the whole 9 yards to get it to move. And let me show you guys something about the ankles on this figure. You hear that? That, my friends, is a heavy Ars D10. Something we're not used to seeing on these figures. So if this is how it's going to be moving forward, heat the feet up when you take them out. You know, I didn't have problems with the knees on the lizards, but this was pretty extreme. So, taking a closer look at Varnoks, the way I have him assembled, he looks freaking awesome. He looks like he just got out of a Gwar concert or a Manowar concert. Oh wait, they don't tour. Gwar does. They're playing here next month. But Manowar, not so much. But look at this guy. He's got the tats. He's got skulls on his belt. I put those on there. They look freaking gnarly hanging there. He's got a little water pouch because, I don't know, he gets thirsty. Killing motherfuckers. So, you know, you gotta have a refreshment once in a while. He's got a little cuff over here, like this little brace, chain brace thing. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if he's supposed to have two of those or not, but I just put that there. He's got the chain handcuff piece there. Again, the tattoos. He's got more furry looking boots than these boots. Let me just compare these. Can I find one of those calves quick? I mean, there's just a mess of crap sitting over here. So you can see these boots are a little bit more different. These are just your typical He-Man looking boots. These are more wrapped and stuff. Maybe I will swap these on because these don't have a lot of fur on them. Not sure. Guess I'll figure that out later. But at any rate, he looks friggin' cool. So as far as articulation goes, his head you would think would be hindered. It is not. He can look up pretty well. Look straight for the most part. He can tilt. He's got this little necklace here. That's a separate piece. You could take that off. Little necklace with skulls and things on it. His shoulders can, of course, go out. And this fur piece doesn't really hinder the shoulders. You could still swing them back and forth, move them up and down. So that's nice. But again, you will have to take the pauldrons off to get this fur piece on. It's not going to go on with the pauldrons on. If you want to put it on, you got to take the pauldrons off. Not very hard though. Just use a little heat and they pop right out. Swivel forward and back. He's got a bicep swivel. That's just a cap though. Double jointed elbow. It's a little hindered because of the cuff thing, but that's fine. Swivel hinge wrist. Not really hindered by this brace thing here. It's actually moves okay. But yeah. Put this arm down. Put this arm up. His torso can lean this far forward. And with the fur thing, I would think it'd be limited. It is not very limited. It is a little bit, but not too bad. He's got the ball joint in the waist. He does have some tilt. And he does have twist. So you get all the articulation you could possibly want out of this guy. Still, despite the fact that, yes, he's very chunky. The upper body department. The hips can kick forward and back. A little hindered by the loincloth, but that's fine. Kick out, just fine. He's got a thigh cut. He's got a double knee. It crunches up nicely. And then his feet will, of course, rotate, hinge, and pivot. At least you would think so. Very tight hinges on those. Very tight rockers on Krieger the Shun's feet. Maybe that's why I picked him. No, I picked him because he was in the front. Whether they match or not, I really don't care. They look close enough to me, so I said to heck with it. I had to get this video done. So, there you have it. That is Varnoks Unchained. Unchained! Probably a figure of the year for 2026. I know he came out in 2025, right? But like I said, he was a con exclusive, so he was relatively hard to get. And I think he was only at like 3 shows. So does that really count? That's so limited. Unless you got him sent to you, you lucky bugger. So I'm going to say he's a 2026 release because that's when he was released to mass population. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Should be worth noting, this belt here has a loop on the back for the knife. You can store it in that. And this pelt thing also has a loop on the back, which I tend to put that bone axe thing in. That said, this piece, you just want to plug this into his back. You do not want to take the pegs out and try to put them back in. It is a pain in the arse. Do not do that. Don't be stupid like me. Just heat up the back and plug it in. So that being said, I think that's all the side tangents I have for tonight, whatever. So why don't we move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is good old Varnoks Unchained, alongside a couple other barbarian figures from fine folks over at Harbinger Studios / Savage Crucible. We have the Frazetta warrior with ball and chain, and the main reason I brought him out is A, Krieger the Shun doesn't have any feet, and B, his skin tone matches Varnoks Unchained here. So if you wanted to save a little money and get a base body to put some of the extra parts on, you could use this one. However, he is low-key painted to look like that Frazetta artwork, so it's a little bit different, but I don't think it's as big of a difference to deter anyone from doing that. Again, save a little money doing that. That said, we also have Human, the main barbarian character from the Savage Crucible lore, because, well, he's the main dude. Or, as I like to call him, not He-Man, because he'd probably rip He-Man in half, if I'm being honest. So, getting these two out of the way. They're very warm because they're sitting by my heat register, which is working overtime because it's cold as in upstate New York right now. Below 0 weather, and it's only February. Yay! But we got our 2 regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibolith, and the infamous 11 Spawn, who is not towering over everyone today, I don't think. He is maybe a hair taller than Varnok, but not enough to be towering. That's for sure. So, with that being said, it's time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and aside from the busted foot on my particular figure, I'm going to go out and say that good old Varnoks Unchained here is probably the best figure the fine folks over at Harbinger Studios have to offer for their Savage Crucible line. I mean, this guy is kitted out with a ton of accessories, and as far as this configuration goes, this is a dude you don't want to mess with. Faux sure. Dark alley or otherwise. So, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.